There is a psychology concept that has gone from a single 2020 YouTube video to one of the most shared ideas on TikTok in 2026, and most of the people using it do not realize they are running one of the most studied interventions in modern clinical psychology. It is called the dopamine menu, and it might be the most practical self-improvement tool you learn all year. The idea started with Jessica McCabe, who runs the YouTube channel How to ADHD. Back in 2020, she introduced this odd little framework where you write down things that give your brain dopamine and you organize them like a restaurant menu. In 2026, that video has exploded across TikTok and Instagram, with creators posting their own dopamine menus for studying, parenting, recovery, and even supermarket shopping. Psychology Today wrote about it this year. Mayo Clinic wrote about it this year. The University of British Columbia published a version for their science students. There is a reason this trend has credibility that most life hacks do not. To understand why it works, you have to understand what is actually happening in the brain when you cannot make yourself start a task. The neuroscientist Kent Berridge at the University of Michigan spent decades showing that wanting and liking are two different systems. You can like something without wanting to do it. You can want something without actually enjoying it. Motivation lives in the wanting system, which is powered by the mesolimbic dopamine pathway, and that pathway gets dampened in ADHD, in depression, in burnout, and honestly, in most of us after a long enough rough week. Now here is where real clinical psychology enters the picture. Behavioral activation, a treatment first developed by Neil Jacobson and later refined by Christopher Martell and Sona Dimidjian, is one of the most rigorously studied interventions for depression. A 2016 Richards trial in the Lancet showed behavioral activation is as effective as cognitive behavioral therapy, delivered at a fraction of the training cost. A 2022 meta-analysis in Psychotherapy and Psychosomatics found it consistently outperforms waitlist controls and matches medication for mild to moderate depression. The dopamine menu is behavioral activation rebranded for the TikTok era. That is not an insult. That is why it works. Here is how McCabe structures the menu. Appetizers are quick, small dopamine hits under 5 minutes to help you transition into action. Mains are longer activities that give real, sustained reward. Things like exercise, deep social connection, creative work, and time outside. Sides are small pleasures you pair with a task you do not want to do, to make it tolerable. And desserts are high-intensity quick pleasures like scrolling or sugar, which you enjoy but keep small because they habituate fast. The menu is the structure. Here are 3 research-backed moves to actually use it today. First, fill your mains with sustained-release dopamine sources. Research on exercise and mood from the Duke Smile trials, on social connection from the Harvard 85-year adult development study, now led by Robert Waldinger, and on nature exposure from a 2019 paper in Frontiers in Psychology, all point to the same thing. Activities that deliver a slow, long dopamine curve are what actually change your motivational baseline. Pick 3 mains you can reach this week. Second, use sides to stack tiny rewards onto tasks you have been avoiding. This is called temptation bundling, a term coined by behavioral scientist Katy Milkman at Wharton. Her research, including a randomized gym study, showed pairing a wanted activity, like a favorite podcast, with an avoided one, like a workout or a chore, significantly increases follow-through. Pick one task you have been procrastinating and attach a side to it before the end of today. Third, cap your desserts. Kent Berridge's wanting system habituates fast to short, intense rewards, which is why the 10th TikTok never hits like the first. Short dopamine hits are not the enemy, but they cannot be your main course. Give yourself a rough daily budget, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever feels honest. And notice how much more a long main course tastes when dessert is rationed. One caveat before we close. If low motivation has lasted more than 2 weeks, or if nothing on any menu sounds appealing, that is not laziness. That is anhedonia, and it deserves a conversation with a licensed clinician. If you are in crisis in the US, you can call or text 988. If this helped you rethink how you actually get yourself moving, do one tiny thing right now. Write down 3 mains, 2 sides, and 1 dessert in your notes app. Then come back tomorrow, because we build these habits together. This is Daily Psychology, your 5 minutes of science-backed self-improvement.